and the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Shalom alaikum.
Young TV.
So all of this stuff is telling us Sleepy Joe, he don't know if he's alive or dead, right? The diddler in the on lockdown in the custody of the federal government, but we don't know if he alive or dead, right? Then you have the business world, the docks is closing, right? And that's because the baby's in the containers and we don't know if they alive or dead, right? Which tells you about the trafficking of the diddler, which is a microcosm, Harlem, of a macrocosm, the entertainment collective industry, from one coast, New York, to the other coast, LA, right? NYLA, Nyla. And Nyla is Black Girl Magic because Nyla is with Anaya, and Anaya brings the fire to burn this bitch down if her daddy don't get his shit. But when we get to the focal point is when we start seeing the fraud in all of the storylines. So now what are they doing to get us to see the fallacies in the storyline? First of all, anybody that don't know that they documented the fixing of the 2020 vote by following every person that they thought had the potential of hacking in to alter the result of the vote. They have the records, the video, the collusion plot on video, the dirty players who don't know they on video talking about the dirty game they was playing. And when you seeing all of these playing out, one storyline reflects another storyline with a slight alteration. And that one is going to reflect another storyline, but it's going to have a slight alteration. Because when the mirror rule is same but different, that means it looked like the same thing, but it's slightly different. And the reason you need to know that is because you are in cycles and cycles, and you have to see coming out of a cycle all the things you've seen coming in upside down and backwards. which means it's altered, but it's still there. That means you've come full circle. It's time to exit, flip out of that cycle by not repeating the ending of the pattern that was adverse to your process and your progress. Now that you can see the loop that's repeating itself in one area, it becomes self-evident and you begin to see it in every aspect of life. Now it unfolds to you the deeper truths to the self, which exposes to you the deeper truths of the universe. So we have storylines taking place as people play out their book of life. The story that everybody wrote for themselves had to have overlapping pages with the other people that they destined to encounter. Because now, when you go through your book of life, you can begin to read it and you can actually rewrite it in 3D in your consciousness. And this is where you go to epigenetics and they talk about programming the subconscious. Before, under the old system, we couldn't figure it out because we were being programmed the same way epigenetics teaches you how to self-program, but we were being programmed by a political, socio-economic, entertainment agreement that we didn't even know we was in, for somebody else to train us on how to perceive the world. And if they successful, we become the cog in the wheel, and we not gonna even squeak about it if it gives us what's called a meager living. I mean, if you can meet your bare necessities, you're gonna live that lifestyle. And if you live that lifestyle, that means that as you don't want to change it because you learn how to adapt to this one in order to make you comfortable where you at, so you won't be willing to change. Because Elijah Muhammad told us that in order to have change, dissatisfaction must be met in proportionate to the percentage of change that you're trying to reach. If you only got 1% dissatisfaction, you will never change shit in your life. If you 99% dissatisfied, then you have a 99% chance of changing the paradigm by taking control of your own personal power. Right? So this is how everything is connected. All people that's existing right now is the focal consciousness in the unified field theory that's collapsing the wave into the particles that's becoming the building blocks of this construct that we call atomic development. The atoms are all made of light at their source. And the light came forth and proceeds from triple darkness. And you have to have that chaos of disorder in order for you to bring order in. And that's what the lodges, they got the term, it's called fiat lux, right? Which fiat is a decree, lux mean light. So you order, decree, light. And you can decree the light by understanding how to talk with the light code. Once you learn how to talk with the light code, you can activate the other beings to have their light codes activated to support you in activating the light codes in others, because now we reaching back to each other in agreement to continue to collapse the wave into the particle of the current three-dimensional reality. Nothing is new under the sun, right? And nothing is new above it either. And nothing is new inside of it. Therefore, the sun can only do what it do best, shine like a motherfucker. And as long as the sun is shining, Luna, will reciprocate at night by reflecting that shiny light in 28-day cycles. And between the 28-day cycles, we have the Lilith moon cycle, or the old crone called the dark mother cycle, which gives us the most potent forms of magic that the woman can harness, called Big Mama magic. Big Mama magic only can be done by a matriarch that has a huge family that she loved with so much force that that love energy creates a bubble around her of divine mother instinct that make other mothers come to her to learn how to reach their next level of motherhood. The title of mother is the highest honor a woman can have, and the title of father is the greatest job that a man can ever ask for, right? And they're not supposed to be at odds in performing that job, because both of them are required in order for the best job to be performed to its maximum capacity to benefit the child that they raising, right? And sometimes it requires surrogate parents. The surrogate parent is the parents who come in to assist the new spouse or whatever as if they was the original, without taking no difference between any of the other seeds, right? You're supposed to treat all children like they belong to you, and that you love them, and this is how you conquer the doctrines of the hate, right? So now we know how it all connected. We just have to learn how to translate and read how it'll all play out. All right, so Zuri, you ready to come up, sweetie? You want to come up and ask me something? Put me a yay or nay in the comments so I can know what to do next. Zuri, 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 Zuri. No, Trump still, he's been the president since he got elected as president. The Biden administration is a fallacy. It's a show. Um, it's a show to keep the military operations secret, while it won't make people panic about the global scale of conflict that we work in. It's so the whole Biden administration is a whole theatrical performance scripted straight out of Hollywood. I don't know what this is, Jerry, but it does not give me the option to invite you in like it normally do. Let me try something different. Yeah, I try to save all of my lives, Chris Faith. I'm so they supposed to stay in the public domain until we have results. Okay, that didn't work there. Let me try something else. I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find a way to invite you. Normally, I touch the picture, and give me the option. But yours didn't give me the option, and it's not coming up. Oh, it's saying that you ain't a viewer right now. Chris Pharaoh, I got you. I know what that is now. Iron Bush, you trying to come back up? I can't find out how to let Zuri in and say she not on the. She said it's saying that Zuri's not watching the live, and I can't invite her. Well, look, Bobby B. Blunt, we don't know when everything gonna crash until it crashes. That's why it's called a crash, because it's a sudden event, right? I wish I did know, because then I know how much stuff I need to do clearer than figuring it out as I go, which slows me down. Yeah, the hard disclosure come. One of these things, they reopened Hillary Clinton laptop case, which can trigger the exposure of the deep state tribunals. Also, the Diddler case can implicate Kamala and some other politicians that could cause the collapse on uh, uh, that could cause the collapse of the person was unable to join because of technical issues. Now that's some bullshit. I don't know what that's about, Zuri. Try it again. This person able to join. It's saying that you got some technical issues that won't allow you to join. Yeah, Cliff, this is the great reveal. Okay, so now you got the this other case. What's the name of that case? So Clarence Thomas is waiting to give a ruling about the disposition of the political elites in Washington that's holding office with no oath of office on record, and this could bring an end to or an exposure point for the fall of the cabal. Okay, um, what's the name of that case? It'll come to me. Another thing that's going on that could cause the exposure is this bill that they put in front of Senate and Congress last week that say in the case of the loss of 100 and more senators and congressmen that they have a continuity of government protocol in place, and they was rushed to vote on it as if it was urgently important in a message. The Brunson case, yes, that's the name of it. It's the Brunson case. So that can also trigger the revelation of the fall of the cabal, the draining of the swamp, the death of the deep state, the slaying of Babylon, whatever you want to call it. That's a powerful trigger point. Also, Bank of America, representing America's bank, is um, can also be a trigger point for exposure, right? Because we know about June they was already missing $545 billion. So as that relate to now, how much are they still missing? Did it increase? Did they recover any? And this this is going to make it where the public, giant Q public, going to be like, I don't want to do business with them because they done lost $545+ billion. And when we all get on the same page, and the more of us that agree to overthrow the tyranny of this dying system, everybody on the same day abandon the contract by not going to work, no cash, no checks, don't do nothing, don't make no money move. And it'll tell you that can be a trigger point for the shock and awe disclosure. I call it shock and awe after what G. Dummingham was calling their campaign in Iraq. So I ain't wish that when I sent him the request to tell him to rotate his phone, and then it still won't let him in. So I was wondering what happened with that. Yeah. So the only way that clock could be at zero is when it's done with the corporation, because the corporation is insolvent, and the corporation has been dismantled, and assets of the corporation that we call the United States of America, that we thought was our actual and factual government, turned out to be a de facto fraud in its truest form. Fraud vitiates all contracts. The discovery of the fraud gives the chief the right to cancel the contract. And the fraud came, in this case, in non-performance and breach of contract by doing exactly what you agreed not to do, and that's abuse my people. So the money that they give into the foreign countries is not because they have money to give to foreign countries over the people of the land. Remember, BRICS is forcing the US dollar back by building a dam of nations that's going to gold back currency to overthrow the fiat. When this is taking place, you have to understand how the economy was being floated. Inflation is the product of printing more money than you can spend. You printing it so fast you can't even spend it, but it's creating the inflation. This inflation in turn decreases the purchasing power of the day-to-day worker, and they never know that they silently and secretly being robbed in their face behind their back. Okay, so the next thing that let me see, that was about okay. So the natural disasters are called acts of God, meaning that all insurance companies can renege on paying out because acts of God is not covered under 90% of insurance policies unless you have what's called an act of God policy, that in the case that God tear your house down with a tornado, hurricane, earthquake, or tidal wave, or tsunami, or whatever, then because you bought specifically that insurance, that's the only way you can be compensated. They need to circulate fiat currency around the world in order to artificially float their system. They can't circulate it within the country and be able to float their system because they don't want the money damn back to home, because now you got water running in the White House coming over the doorstep, right? The breaches of the contract, once you discover the fraud, I mentioned this on the Larry Hoover video earlier. Once you discover the fraud, you cannot correct the fraud with paperwork because you perpetuate the fraud when you do that. The only only remedy in law for the discovery of a fraud that you was unaware of before whatever said catalytic or catalyst event made you pay attention enough to see the fraud. And the only remedy is to walk away from the fraud. If you don't walk away from the fraud and you see the fraud, you are guilty in legal terms as an aid and abettor to the fraud because you seen it and you participated in it and you knew it was a fraud and gave it your support. And once you gave it your support, you validated your support for the fraud, right? Once you validate your support for the fraud, you are now what's known as a willing participant. But when you didn't know, you was called an unwilling dupe. The fool's journey. The only remedy is to walk away from what the fraud is, which is Faison Love, what up, though? So once you recognize, okay, these W-2s and W-4s they got me filing at work is deceptively luring me into supporting a foreign agency to financially exploit us, and I don't want to participate in that. So they got to give me two options. I don't want to do W-2. I don't want to do W-4. Let's see if they let you file a 1099 OID exempt status. So now you are doing something according to what you know on how to remedy the problem instead of just going along to get along. Yep, just walk away. Go with your tribal name in the public. Always use your tribal name because your birth name is the property of the dead system, which makes by birth you are now a zombie. You the walking dead. You are a vessel in distress, lost at sea, deceased status, black in law. When they recovering you from the waters of maritime and admiralty, they are listing you on the records as being a recovered vessel at sea, stranded, lost, and deceased. And now they have to hand you over to the so-called ruling authority. And now, even though you are the walking dead, you are the ward of the state. That's given all of your life responsibilities for the state to financially support you. But watch how they renege on the bill. When you file to become a living being, they punish you by declaring that it's fraudulent that you did business as the straw man. But the living person is not responsible for the obligations of the non-living entity called the straw man. Nisara and Jasara is Dr. Kia Pruitt's domain. Anybody interested in understanding what Nisara and Jasara is and how it works, go to Rumble or YouTube, type in Dr. Kia Pruitt, and she have a whole lot of videos on both that's explaining the entirety of the Nisara and Jasara breakdown. Right, Dolo Ray. Uh, you have to put a claim in letting you know that you're living and take over your corporate enemy. No, that's how you support the fraud. But when you put the claim in with them, you submitting to their jurisdictional oversight of the prima facie case. You don't have the jurisdictional oversight, they do when you file a claim. The only way for you to have the uh, sui juris status is by I mean not the sui juris, I meant the de jure status. And instead of filing a claim, you make your statements according to tribal tradition in the public domain for other people that's similarly situated have the opportunity to discover the fraud you presenting and investigate it. And once they discover the fraud, you now have led them out of bondage. Yeah, so she lost a few channels, but she still got some videos up. Iron Bush, I don't hope it wasn't too far because I didn't see it. I'm going back looking at every time. No, that's a statement. That's not a question. Um, retype the question because I don't know where it's at. And I'll try to answer it. Dr. Kia Pruitt, Kia, last name Pruitt, Pruitt. Yes, you can have more than one totem animal, but one of them is going to be the primary or the lead, and you will be able to switch them lead according to the task that you're trying to perform that you need their assistance with. No, don't do the paperwork, Faison. That's a trap. The paperwork is the paper chain. Because the paperwork is copywritten, yep, that's Dr. Kia Pruitt. She's the one with the necessary information, the SESQE trusts, and all of that stuff. We got people in the community that's responsible for the part that they work on. I'm not. I don't work on the Nasera Jacera. I work on cracking the codes and putting in the public domain the redemption process that we following to recover the tribal lands, and it's all tribal land, back from the colonizers in lieu of the discovery of Plymouth Rock, commemorating the shipwreck called the Wreck of the Plymouth, which we know in the history books as the Mayflower. And we know that the military was ordered, under Donald J. Trump, the Navy ordered the docked vessel of the Admiralty jurisdiction commissioned by London to immediately exit the harbor of DC because in 2017, the tribes marched the totem pole to claim back what's known as the crime scene that was in an enclave, 10 square miles, that was the original crash site of the Plymouth. The lawsuit was filed in the through secret societies, and they went in to create the International Court of Criminal Justice in order to have a body in place to enforce the rights of all of the ones that's asserting a tribal jurisdictional right to recover from the contracts that they was never party to, and that most of the people in the contracts had nothing to do with the people of the land. And that's why none of the tribal leaders' names can be found in any of the treaties, which makes the treaties be predicated upon the fraud of an assumed identity of the organic people of the land or the identity being bestowed upon them by presidential order or presidential decree, which is not how the tribes of the land do business, right? Yo, yo, totem animal, Dolo, RJ, it whatever you doing, the totem animal that needs to give you the guidance takes the lead, and it can go within a split second. You can go from the lone wolf totem trotting across the vacant field to the full blown war bear, the grizzly war bear that left a grisly scene of guerrilla warfare on the land, and the land had a stain that scorched from the souls of those who suffered under the oppression and tyranny of the wicked who assumed the identity and tried to insert themselves in with the righteous, meaning the ones with the organic right to reclaim the earth, the ones with the right to assert tribal jurisdiction to restore the rest of the tribes to their tribal positions on the land. And this can be done globally by any of the tribal networks that's set up by landmass. It just so happened that North and South Turtle Island and the islands are all under one grand matriarch, but we have under her a series of matriarchs across the land who works with the chief in order to solve the problems of the tribes in processing a new era as the day becomes online, so to speak. Then they awakening becomes the catalyst for the change to take place. So they all working together, even when they don't know they working together for the greatest good, because that's how they wired. In this one, I'll lose it while I'm trying to answer it. Okay, so this Diane Bush is asking me, y'all. He said, I received information that the 3D will be closing out from 2039 to 2046, at which point the pole shift will occur. The pole shift will occur. Try this one. Essentially moving the 3D from this realm. Do you think the Anunnaki will have any part in this, or do you think at this point their DNA is so integrated with ours that we are them and they are us? Did they mix with us so they could survive, not for anything or benefit? Okay, so that's kind of a big question. It starts off about the ending of the 3D reality. The 3D reality will be here. It will be here, but we won't be operating from a three-dimensional paradigm. The five-dimensional paradigm is the paradigm of love and spirit. The 3D paradigm is the paradigm of density and aversion or repulsion is what it is. It's density and repulsion, and they can not clash coming together. So in the 3D, it's just the construct that we live in. But the 5D is a non-physical location, right? As a non-physical location, when we ascend, we move from third dimension, physical matrix, energetically to dimension, spirit matrix. and we operate from the spirit matrix aspect in the 3D aspect. So the 3D physical reality is not going to just vaporize and we all 5D beings. It's not going to happen. But what's going to happen is in this 3D construct, we're going to absorb a frequency that's going to come from the earth after the sun and the earth get done answering all of the defects that the women's mitochondrial reported back to earth from scanning Y chromosomes and X chromosome in the same position of the children, right? And once they understand that the children are being birthed on higher frequency, now they're going to try to interfere with the frequency by undermining the child that's being born gifted. Anyway, so the 3D is not going to physically go anywhere, but we're going to change to a spirit-based reality we living in, as opposed to a dog eat dog, grab at what you can mentality. And then it said, at which point the pole shift will occur. The pole shift occurred, but it didn't occur the manner that it normally happens, because Nibiru altered the trajectory and altered the whole system's effect on flipping the crust of the earth. Go to Google, type January 6 Earth core anomaly, and it's going to tell you that the core of the earth stopped spinning inside the earth. And this lasted, I think, a day or so, maybe 2 days. And then it reversed direction, right? So this was what would have been a catastrophe of a pole shift had the mantle and the crust flipped, as opposed to just the core. When it was just the core, it changed the pitch, tone, and frequency of Schumann resonance, which is the pulses that the earth sent out to the women's mitochondria to alert them, disaster coming, girl, get your family and go. And they can hear it like I'm talking now, like they can hear me. Once they tuned in on that level, then they begin to sync with similarly situated mitochondrial developed women in order to be the Tesla coils of this creation, right? So the pole shift was the shifting of the core this time instead of the mantle. The Anunnaki is not allowed to interfere right now, because the war that was being waged on Earth, that started on Nibiru over the war in heaven and landed on Earth, right? The fallen angels, that has to play out as if there is no super beings or exceptionally gifted beings. It has to play out as we educate ourselves, the guys in the system, above the program that created the system. Once we mentally surpass the program that maintains the system, now we are in the position to alter the program to the benefit of the most people, right? And do you think at this point their DNA is so integrated? Okay, so they have integrated DNA with the humans. But not all, it's more than one bloodline lineage of royal families on Nibiru, or Orianos, what they call it in the New Testament, which is heaven. This differing bloodlines all came to Earth, sent delegates, I should say, to Earth to assist with giving a drop of divine blood to the newest addition to the human family that was denied rights of ascension by the Anunnaki scientists. And the war that was originally two brothers, Enki and Enlil, or Set and Ra, Osiris, Set and Osiris, and it ended up being a war instead of the two brothers fighting between Heru, right, the fallen father's son, and the uncle, Set, who tried to usurp or take or claim the kingdom as he had won it in warfare, which makes his rulership legitimate in the Anunnaki text. But because the earthborn Heru, heir to the throne, it is the one that Enlil has to stop from becoming a mature enough adult to assert the tribal rights of the tribes to govern, control, and repair and replenish the lands of Turtle Island, which is our natural birthright, right? So we already have some sizable portion of their DNA, but we also have our own badass earthborn DNA off the motherline through the power of love, wakening and resonating through the mitochondria in the cells of all, as the powerhouse of all living cells is mitochondria on Earth, because mitochondria is a woman's right to create and recreate and procreate according to their creative capacity and their ability to link with the dark mother. And anybody that have the mitochondria can communicate directly with the dark mother. And once you experience that level of love and power, you won't never want nothing else less than that. Let me get caught up now. Okay, so I hope I answered you, Iron Bush. G rapping this mofo. Witting the Devil. Witting the Devil is an excellent book. It's one of my favorite books of all time, because you have to raise your thinking above the thinking of the devil, or else you're going to always be his victim chasing. Cheryl Jones said, they are doing that with this abortion, trafficking rituals, etc. is influencing this. You are right, sweetie. The control of the um, positive golden heart ones being distracted with the gossip of the dirt of others will slow down the ascension rate of everybody. All of that stuff is connected. The abortion is a Babylonian blood magic ritual to snatch a woman's child out before before the child and the mother can bond. That's an old torture technique. Now it's common practice, and women freely go get tortured. because that baby gonna stay in your arc field until you have a baby to let him out in, and he gonna keep like, Mama, when you gonna let me out this energy? I need to get in the physical. I'm like Pimp C. I need to be seen. Come on, bro. You got to hurry this thing up. I don't know what the other characters up to, man. I'm gonna tell you, but they kind of weird, man. They be on some old weird old booty clapping type stuff. And you know, like I told y'all, me and Bud, we ain't never get down on none of them old freaky things. I already know about that Diddy party and all that, man. But that ain't how real players supposed to carry it, how they supposed to get down. I don't care what they say. Uh, Princess Jade, yeah, a lot of us are in higher realms from the shift, but the people standing next to you can't even tell. That's the hard part. The people standing next to you, you vibrating on five D frequency, pure love energy, and they know there's something that's different, but they have no clue that you vibrating at such a level higher than they can ever aspire to attain because they not you. Mm. So they are doing okay. Skype 8 at the North Gate. King Kong is coming. So, Iron Bush say, so are we gonna have to keep up with this brotherly battle? Prince Iya Inky and Enlil Yahweh, and did Nibiru intervene due to karma or benevolence? Nibiru is not who intervened. It was the Galactic Council after Tahuti blew the Gandiva to try to annihilate everything on the planet that didn't belong here, right? The asteroid belt is called the Iron Bracelet, but that is the rest of Tiamat. When Earth was known as Tiamat, it was about almost to the size of Jupiter or Saturn. It was big like those gas giants, but it was an Earth giant or a Kai giant, right? Which takes us back to divine insight. So Free Shah Jamal, we know that shit made up by the shit that they refuse to tell the defense about their awareness of the setup by electronic media of either text messages or emails or probably both. Right. So there is no correcting your status. That's a fallacy uh, based on your attempts to status correct the way they tell you to do it by serving notices and filing affidavits and forms. You are doing all that under the jurisdiction of an entity that doesn't have the jurisdiction to lick your feet. It's all what real face. Everything I say be 100. Yeah, Cliff, you're exactly right. That love that Big Mama have, you can't get it from nowhere else. Only mothers know how to love people to that degree. It's been cures for herpes since the 50s. They was curing it in Japan with red algae treatments way back then. So I mean, shit, it's a cure for it. It's not incurable like they tell you, right? But they don't want to tell you that it's curable because they get paid far more for it being treatable than curable. They don't get paid off curing diseases. They get paid off um, administering the medication to the patient in order for the patient to be dependent on pharmaceutical industry to have a comfortable life in the misery of illness instead of take the illness away. In higher dimensions, your skin color don't matter. Only certain beings gonna reach higher dimensions, and it has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It got everything to do with your heart chakra frequency resonance in conjunction with your crown chakra, thousand petal lotus. Fractal holographic universe will help with understanding self while decoding this matrix. Facts. Michael Tobit wrote the holographic universe, a must read for anybody that want to understand this matrix we in. So it's two major pieces of medical equipment that's about to be put on display and distributed at the World's Fair next year in 2025. And one is the med bed, and the other one, I don't know if they're gonna call it the healing chamber, healing pod, or they're not gonna call it the sarcophagus this time. There's going to be something about this because it's a closed building, but it can regenerate lost limbs. It can reconnect severed spines. It can go down to your DNA level, read your DNA. Once it reads your DNA, it can set you to whenever you was physically at your peak, mentally at your peak, spiritually at your peak. It ties all of the best versions of you into one new you right now because you already paid for the stuff that you were in the past. That's paid in full. That means that the code that it left as an imprint on as a genetic marker is readable by the healing chamber in order to optimize you and extend your life at least to 1,000 years. And this is going to be rolled out with the med bed. The med bed, it can cure cancer and a lot of other stuff like that. Asthma, autism. Autism not really a defect. It's really a neurological upgrade, right? Right. So, ooh, the vibration of the body, right? You normally get that either when you relaxed or when you're about to go to sleep. And the reason that is because when you start separating the light body from the physical, the vibration that you feeling is the energy output of the powerhouse of the cell called mitochondria. As it puts out higher frequencies of energy, it's raising the vibration of your light body in order to match the dimensional frequency that you're supposed to wake up in. Because 3D, then you got 4D, which is mind mental matrix, and you can build a whole astral plane um, reality at the fourth dimension where people can come visit you and everything like you was in the 3D world, except it's in the world, it's in the part of the thinking world where thoughts are generated.